Hello folks, how are we doing? Welcome to Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday the 29th of March. We have reached the end of March. It's bonkers that we've reached that, but we have. Welcome one and all. Hopefully we are live. The reason why I'm saying that is because every now and then OBS is telling me that we have a perfect connection, but every now and then YouTube is telling me that there is no data being received. So it's all a little bit weird and a little bit wonky, and I don't know why. But we've never had such an issue with YouTube for a very, very long time. So I don't know what the heck is going on. So we are just going to make it up as we go along. So we're just going to guess and see what happens and see where this goes. And if we get lots of interruptions, then I don't know what we'll do. We'll just scrap it, I guess. So hopefully you guys can see and hear me and everything is good. Otherwise, there's no point in me continuing very much. So please let me know what you are seeing and hearing, and that would help me out at least a little bit. And then I can decide whether I just need to end the show immediately or what. So we got 13 or so watching, which is nice. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. We got 8 likes. Seems fine here, says John. Okay, good. All right, that's good to know. I wonder what was the problem. I think maybe there is one or two issues with YouTube in the UK. We'll just go with it and we'll just see what happens. That's all we can do. We'll just see what happens. All right, so after all of that kerfuffle, I think is the word, we'll go and we'll see who is here. And unfortunately, because I had to basically restart the stream about 2 or 3 times to get it to connect to OBS, I've totally lost who was first in the door. So I'm sorry I cannot give you bragging rights for being first in the door to whomever you are, unfortunately. So I apologize, but I'll make good on that on Sunday. If you are first in the door on Sunday, you will get name checked like always, but I can't do that tonight. Now, big news for those that are completely unaware, and I don't suppose that's many of you, but we have gone past. In fact, we have way gone past 5,000 subscribers. We're actually, at last check, we are 5,021. I'm just going to go and double check that right now. We are at 5,022, correction, 5,022 subscribers. So we have added over 100 new subscribers in the last 8 days. That's mental. Thank you very much, everybody. If you are watching and you are one of my new subscribers, please say hello in the chat. I would love to hear from you. If you are brand new, I would definitely love to hear from you. It would be awesome. So, yes, thank you. Kyle says audio and video good. Excellent. Good. That's what I want to know. So, yes, finally, it's taken a few years to get here. But we have got here nonetheless, and I think the journey between 4,000 and 5,000 has actually been pretty short. I think we are only talking a matter of maybe just over a year, I think. Which is, yeah, it's faster than it was from 3,000 to 4,000. That took about 2.5 years. So there's definitely an acceleration going on with the channel, which is awesome. It's fantastic. So thank you to every one of you that has shared my videos, that has shared this live stream, that has brought people along, that has got people involved and got people subscribing from among your friends groups, from your Facebook groups that you're in. Thank you for doing that. That has made a massive difference, and that has made, has enabled us to get to past 5,000. Now, with that in mind, I promised that when we got past 5,000, there would be a giveaway. And there is going to be a giveaway. I'm going to be a man of my word, and we are going to do it. with the assistance of my dear friend and sponsor, Louis from Alps Media. I'm going to get with him, and I'm going to have him as a guest on the show. And he and I together are going to award a random person who attends either the Wednesday or the Sunday, or probably be the Sunday night show because of Louis' schedule. I think Sunday's probably going to work best, but I will wait to hear from him, which is going to be best. And we will pick the show. We will decide on a date that it's going to happen. And if you are in chat, so you have subscribed and you are in the chat and you are talking to people in the chat, even if you don't ask a question, so long as you are talking to people and engaging with the community in the chat, we will pick a name out at random and you will win something. I think it's going to be an interface of some description. I have yet to work out that particular detail with Louis, but we will work that one out. And yes, the very first giveaway ever done on this channel. And it could be, if this is successful, if this works, and if this gets more people subscribed and engaged in Songwriting Simplified and Sunday Night Live, then there will be more prizes, there will be more giveaways, there will be more fun to be had. So the more, the merrier. Now that we've gone past 5,000, if we can get ourselves up to 10,000 in a very short space of time, then who knows, between now and 10,000, we will basically set another target. Maybe for 6,000 subscribers, maybe we'll do another giveaway. So if you guys can help us get to 6,000, we'll do another giveaway. And I'll talk to Louis and see what we can come up with, because Louis is a ledge, and he's got one heck of a brain for this kind of stuff, whereas I really don't. I really don't have much of a brain for this kind of stuff. And we have parity, ladies and gentlemen. We have 14 watching and 14 likes. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. Let's get into who's here, because we always do that. Let's see. So I think, I could be wrong here, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think Sean White is first in the door. Followed by Just Bob, and Kevin's Guitar Stories, I think was also early on here. Let me just double check. And Paul Morgan is also here. John Edgar is here. Tony Cardona is here. Kyle Tradusiak is here. And of course, Keith at Radio Duck Frumper is here. Check out Keith's show, by the way, on, I think it's Fridays. Every other Friday, I think it is, he does his show. Subscribe to his channel and check out his channel, because he plays music made by you guys in Studio One. So if you're not a subscriber over there, go do it. John Lake says that we can count him here. Kyle Tradusiak is here. Mike Johnson is also here. Excuse me, I have a wee bit of wind. John Edgar is here. John Hathaway. Good grief, we have so many Johns here tonight. This could be confusing. John Hathaway is here, and Papa Raptor Music is here, and Old School Funk and Soul. My good friend, he says, terrible that Nashville is this week famous for tragedy. Sheryl Crow singing live at the visual right now. Oh, the visual. Okay, cool. Sheryl Crow's awesome. But yes, what happened in Nashville is pretty horrific. I don't care what your political opinions or views are on the subject of guns, and I'm not getting into that, because that's not what this channel is about. However, killing people is pretty horrific, and I don't agree with that for sure. He also says, late one for you starting at midnight in the UK. Yes, I move. Here's the deal. You should know this by now, folks, because we've talked about this before. But when the clocks change, both over in the United States and over here, we have to do a wee bit of what I call jiggery pokery with when I do the show, only by an hour. And mostly we're going by when the US clocks change rather than when ours change. So the aim is that this show and the other show on Sunday are always at 6 p.m. Central Time in the United States, regardless of what date or point it is in the year. All right, so when they have daylight savings time, this show happens at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. When it's a standard time, When the clocks have reverted back to standard time, then it is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay? So that means for us over here in the UK and Europe that during those periods, and it's only for like a week, 10 days, twice a year, the show has to move back an hour. So we move it to 11 p.m. in the UK rather than midnight. But midnight is more or less the norm for when this show starts, both the Wednesday and Sunday night show. It's generally speaking midnight, except for when the clocks change in the United States. Then it flips to 11 and then we go back. And then everything is restored to normal for a while. All right, so that's how that works. Let's see. Everyone's saying that it's good. Okay, cool. John Edgar says, regarding music theory, discuss the harmonic sequence in music composition practice and application. That sounds like a thesis paper, which we probably couldn't get into in great deal. But we can talk about sequence for sure. We can talk about rising sequence, which is the most common use of sequence. We'll get onto that in a moment. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, no more on politics, please, guys. Okay. As much as I personally have passionate views on this subject, that's not what this show is about. And that's not what this channel is about. This channel is not a political channel. Maybe I should start one, but there again, you probably would not subscribe to it because you probably wouldn't subscribe to my politics, and that's okay. But here, no politics, okay? We're just not getting into it, whether I agree with it or disagree with it, okay? So, Sean says, can you cover any techniques in writing intros? Yes, I can certainly do that, but you still haven't tagged my name correctly. You have to do @Jonny Lipsham Studios and spell it correctly. But I did spy that question. So yes, we can talk about using how you do intros. So, I'm going to kind of go through these questions in kind of no particular order at the moment, and keep your questions coming in, and hopefully we will have plenty of questions to get through the show. That would be cool. All right, so let's go back to John's question about sequence and all of that, but I think I'm trying to see, did Sean get his question in before that? Yes, he did. But I think we'll deal with the sequence one first because it's a little bit trickier. And then we'll come to Sean's question on how you go about writing intros, because we have covered that before, but there are lots of different approaches to doing that. And it's kind of a case of go with what you prefer. All right, so sequence. What is sequence? Well, you hear sequence sometimes in either TV theme tunes, or you'll hear them in hymns. Why? Because they're easy. Because it's a composing technique that you can do that requires pretty much no work. It writes itself. Certainly from the chord changes point of view, you're not having to really think about it. So, what do I mean by sequence? So, if we're in the key of C major, so we've established that we're in the key of C. So sequence is basically where it goes, where the melody would rise. So if I was to go, then the next step would be to take that up a step. Now I've covered a whole octave just using this this little sequence. So I'm starting on 4, then going up to 5, and that's a piece of melody that writes itself pretty much. It's stepwise movement for the most part. So we're going 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 6, 5, 4, 3. You can do the math here. 7, 6, 5, 4. Octave. 7, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, so it's a little piece of melody where you take that melody and you transpose it. Okay, so that's essentially what a rising sequence is. Falling sequence is the opposite. So okay, so that would be a falling sequence. And that would be and the other one would be a rising sequence because it goes up. But basically you take the same melodic pattern and you transpose it up. Now you can transpose it following the key that you're in, or you can transpose it and transpose the key signature at the same time, which might sound a little weird depending upon what you're trying to do. So and then you'd have to go. Okay, so what I mean by transposing according to this key signature is if I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 4, sorry, let's start on 4. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I go 5. I've got my F sharp because it's G major now. And then it's the descending A major scale here. Okay, so that could sound a little bit weird. So you can do this with chord changes as well. So what we're doing there, we're going C to A7, which takes you to D minor, and then G7, and then we go E7 to take you to A minor, and then 2-5-1. Okay? To get you back, because you've gone off in a bunch of different keys with 2-5-1s, or essentially 5-1s, to take you back to, you need to get back to the key of C, so 2, 5, 1, so. Okay, so it's a little kind of set of chord changes that write themselves. So chord 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay, and you'll find that there's a bunch of pop songs that are written based around those kind of chord changes. Either that's their chorus or that's the verse. But it's a fairly typical sequence where the key basically goes up a step. So we're going from C, 5 to 1 in D, and then we go 5 to 1 in A minor, and then a 2-5-1. Okay, so it can go round and round like that, and you can basically build a rising melody by doing that. So, you know, you can have a melodic pattern that starts on C, and then you can take that same melodic pattern and move it through those chords. So, and then you can go to, you know, okay, something like that. So you're taking that same melodic sequence, you're shifting it up, shifting it up, shifting it up, and then bring it back home. And that's a little thing where all you're doing is you're writing one melodic phrase, just one melodic phrase, and you transpose it up, you transpose it up again, transpose it up again, and then you figure out how to get it back home. And you might have to have an answering phrase that you do that with. So if you go phrase, transposed and repeated, phrase, transposed, repeated, phrase, transposed, repeated, answering phrase to bring it home. And you can write a whole chorus for your song just like that. And it's a really simple little composing device that means you can create something without creating something. You're effectively creating something out of nothing. You're taking maybe the chord tones. So, you could go. And then, and just like that, I've created my little melody. And all I've done is use chord tones for that rising sequence. And that's how that works. It's a neat little composing device. Good question. All right, let's find Sean's question again if it hasn't disappeared. I have to go find it. No, you didn't. You spelled my name wrong again, Sean. There's no H in the Jonny, and then the rest should autofill, okay? That is some funny spelling of my name. All right, let's go back and see if I can find Sean's original question because I've totally forgotten it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. I'm curious of different tools or musical devices for intros in addition to using the chorus as a tag. Okay, so, hey, Kingston Dread has just walked in. Awesome, good to see you, buddy. And Kevin is here as well. He says, wow, light bulbs are firing off like crazy. Good. That's what I like to hear. All right, so how to create a really compelling intro. Kind of covered this before on a few separate occasions, but we'll persist with bringing subjects like these up because they're good subjects and they're good to keep going over and refreshing our understanding of what an intro is, why we need one, and what makes it work. Now, there are some songs where they just dive straight in. Boom! There's no intro. There's maybe just a snare drum hit and they're straight into the song. And it's just like, bam, the song has hit you right between the eyes. And that's okay. That is one thing you can do. That is one compositional technique you can appropriate. Another one is to create a compelling intro. The purpose of the intro is to sell your song to your listener and make them stay with you and listen to the song and not skip. So you've got about 10 seconds to give them a compelling reason why they should listen to the next 3 to 5 minutes of your song and not press the skip button or move on to something else. So the intro is your sales pitch. So if we regard the chorus as the most important part of your song, the pivot of your song, the punchline of your song, then everything else has to build up towards that. So your verse is your opportunity to tell the story of your song. And the story progresses towards the chorus. The chorus is the punchline. And you may have another verse which continues to tell the story and again brings the listener back to the chorus. The chorus anchoring everything together. So everything hangs on the chorus, whether you got verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus. So you've got a chorus on either side. If you imagine that this is kind of kind of weight scale or something, and you've got two verses on either side balancing everything up, and the centerpiece is the chorus that holds these two weights together in perfect tension. All right, so your intro is to give the listener a reason to listen to the whole of your song, to listen to the story that is yet to come. So what I recommend you do for your intro is, the first thing, you want to set the mood for the song. The first objective, set the mood, set the tone for what is to come in the song. So if you're in a minor key and you've got a nice, solid, driving drum beat, set those up in the intro. So define the key center for the song, define the mode for the song, whether it's major or minor, and define kind of the atmosphere for the song. Is it going to be dark? Is it going to be light? Is it happy or is it sad? Is it bright? Is it not so bright? Set the scene for what is to come. It's like the opening credits of a film or the opening credits of a TV show. You gotta compel the viewer to stay with you through the course of the whole TV show or the whole movie. So that's how important this intro bit is. So you're setting the scene, you're setting the tone, you're beginning to establish what this is going to be. And then, of course, you get into your narrative. You're introducing your characters, you're putting them in the story, you're setting the scene for the story in the first verse. Your second verse maybe develops the story a wee bit further. But everything, as I say, hanging on that chorus. So one thing you can do is you can take elements of the melody of your chorus, which is why I always say, write your chorus first. I know some people like to write their verses first. They like to get the story told. And then develop the chorus out of the story. And that's fine when you're actually writing the song, do that. But when it comes to fleshing out the arrangement of your song, start with the chorus. Get that chorus as close to perfect as you can possibly get it. And then take elements of the melody of your chorus and bring them over to your intro. Don't give the game away. Don't give everything away. Just take a snapshot of a couple of key melodic phrases and take them over into the intro. So that basically when you get to the chorus of the song, the listener goes, hey, I have heard that before. Yeah, you did, right at the start of the song. And they'll go, hey, I recognize that. They've already had a wee teaser of the chorus in the intro. This is like book, cover of the book kind of thing. Make it compelling. You're giving them an idea of what is in the pages of the book. So you make them turn that cover over and start reading. And so that's what the intro is all about. That's why it's really important. So from your lyrics point of view, from your arranging point of view, the chorus is the central point. The intro hints at what is to come in that chorus. So you're setting up the punchline well in advance so that the listener can actually, from the very first time the chorus is heard, they know that melody and they can sing it. Okay, so they're not having to wait until the second time the chorus comes by before they're even singing the chorus. They've got it. They've got elements of it from the intro. They know enough of it from the intro that when it comes by the first time, they have it. And, they are delighted by hearing the rest of it, but they know enough of it that they can kind of go with it and they can really begin to get into the chorus. And whilst that chorus is fresh in their memories, fresh in their ears, then you go on to verse 2 and you start developing the song and you start developing the story of the song and you go from there and you're always bringing it back to that chorus. Now your second chorus, you can add a little bit more clothing and a little bit more spice, a little bit more flavor, a little bit more ear candy to that chorus so that it's like, okay, they're going to hear something familiar, which is what you want them to do because they should know this chorus melody by now. So they are totally hooked into this chorus. They're hooked into the melody of the chorus. They're hooked into the lyrics of it, but you give them a little bit of extra ear candy. So maybe you give them a horn line that they've not heard before, or a little guitar lick that they've not heard before, or something else like that, a little synth line that wasn't there before in the previous chorus. And that helps the listener's ears go, oh wow, that was unexpected, but that was cool. That really brought out the melody in the chorus. And so by the time they get to your outro, which is the other part of your question, Sean, you can vamp on the chord changes of your chorus to a fade out if you want. And you can have a guitar player just really go for it. But you could have, like the hook line of your chorus, the key line from your chorus just being repeated like a hammer into the head of the listener. You're constantly hammering away at the key point of the song, the key punchline of the chorus, over and over and over again until the song fades out. But you leave them wanting more by having a cool guitar or tenor saxophone solo, and you make sure that whoever the soloist is, that by the time that you're in that fade out, you say, right, really ramp it up, really, really go for it. And that leaves the listener kind of wanting more. And then maybe they'll actually start to listen to another of your songs as a result. So that is how important intro and outro are. They are bookends to your story. Because you want to start with, this is an important story. And you will love this. That's where you're starting. And by the end of it, you're going, and they lived happily ever after, if it's that kind of a song. Or you're saying, and they all died miserably and alone. Or whatever it is. Whatever mood you want to leave your listener in at the end of the song, you have achieved that. And you've taken them on a journey from, this is a really interesting and exciting story, all the way through to, how you conclude it. And ideally, you want the listener to really engage with the words, the story, the mood, and the atmosphere that you set up in the song. Because you want to draw and you want to manipulate the emotions of your listener. You want to make them laugh. You want to make them cry. You want to make them happy. You want to make them, you want to make them dance. You want to exploit every possible emotion of the whole gamut and whole range of emotions that you can put your listener through and that you can draw out. And you can do that with melody. You don't have to have lyrics to do it. You can do that with melody. You can do that with placement of notes. Get your performers to really think about how to phrase a particular phrase of your melody to make the emotion really come out. I have been known to sit and listen to the great flugelhorn player Freddie Hubbard, and I listened to him playing My Funny Valentine, which is one of my favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein ballads. And no vocal, although I've heard the great Sarah Vaughan do possibly one of the best readings of My Funny Valentine, dripping with emotion. But I heard Freddie Hubbard with his quartet do this really, really stripped away, bare, very, very bare, basic, very simple and spare version of My Funny Valentine. And Freddie playing flugelhorn. And I don't know how it was, but when he played the chorus after he had done a solo on the verse chord changes, he came back into the chorus and he waited before starting the chorus. The rhythm section had already started the chorus, and he delayed the start of the chorus by almost half a measure before he came in. And I don't know how he did this, but maybe there was like a little bit of moisture inside one of the valves when he played the note, but it made this lovely bubbling sound. And made the note kind of very, very slightly split into like a note and an octave below. You could hear like an octave below harmonic with this note, and it bubbled a little bit with the moisture that was in the valve. And it just dripped with emotion. And he had already set me up throughout his performance of this song. To when I got to that point, the tears were already coming down my face, because he had wrung every emotion out of the music, and beautifully accompanied with piano and upright bass and just brushes on drums. It was beautiful. And the piano accompaniment was flawless, perfect. But it was all set up from the start with his phrasing. Like he would stretch the phrasing out, and then he, like a rubber band, and then he'd let it go and catch up. So he wasn't being strictly metrical with the melody. And it really, really helped. Really, really helped kind of draw out the emotion of the lyrics. So that's another thing to consider with your song, is how you can exploit emotion by playing with the rhythm, so that the rhythm is not strict and completely metrical. So, you know, whilst everything might be to the grid and, you know, kind of not necessarily quantized, but certainly, you know, there's a clearly defined sense of pulse. When it gets to doing the melody, you can have the melody kind of almost float over the top of it, by way of being able to draw the emotion out. You can't write it. You can't write it out, because it would be unreadable for a musician. So you don't write those things out. But what you do is you give instruction to the performer, and you say, make, you know, kind of stretch this out, play loose with the rhythms. And a good performer, a good vocalist will know exactly what you mean, and you can always demonstrate it to them. But yeah, you can certainly, those are things to consider. And I'm going to go back over the chat, because I can see what is going on here in the chat. Brett Marler is here. He says, I believe it was about approaching intros. Yes, that was the question. Yep. 605, new person question. I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't. I got Tony's question. Yeah, Tony's not a newbie, as far as I can tell. Really simple question. In Studio One 6, where does one find the little musical instrument icons? You're talking about the you're talking about those nice track icons and channel icons. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, if you are brand new here and you have posted a question, make sure to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios, and that highlights my name in red. I would appreciate that. So if I've missed your question, please do repost it. I would appreciate it. All right, so the track icons, I can show you those. That's easy enough to show. All right, let's go over to Studio One. And we'll put my webcam on. There we go. All right, so in Studio One, now at the bottom of the tracks and channels, you don't see anything for this at the moment, but we can add them by clicking the wrench. And where's the option? I'm not seeing the option. There you go, channel icons. And when you click on that, this whole space at the bottom opens up a wee bit. So I'm gonna just give this a little bit of a raise, just a little bit, just to make it a little bit easier. But then if I click in here, if I double click in here, you get all of these icons, and you can choose from all of the different options here. So you've got brass, you've got drums, guitars, keyboards, other percussion, strings, vocals, and woodwinds. So this first channel is definitely a drum set. So we'll click on that one. At least I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's a drum set, which it is. All right, so the next one is rowdy, so we know that that is a bass. So let's go guitars and bass. And then the next one is Rhodes. So we click on this one and we go keyboards. And I'm not seeing the electric piano one. There used to be an electric piano one. What have they done with it? They must have forgotten to add it in for Studio One 6. Naughty, naughty, naughty developers. I will tell them. I'll tell them tomorrow. So we'll go keys instead. And this is piano, so we can put piano in there. And then this is an effect. So we can go other and effects. You've got all of these other options here as well. So if you've got buses for your band, you can put band. If you're bringing in computer audio, you can put that in there. Or if you've got audio from phone or tablet or telephone or anything else, you've got all of those there as well. You've got some percussion ones. You've got strings. You've got a few strings items here. You got some brass. So you got brass section, cornet, flugelhorn, French horn, trombone, trumpet, tuba. You got drums. So you can label your individual channels. You got kick in, kick out, kick, floor tom, rack tom, snare, snare top, snare bottom, room mic, overhead left, overhead right, overhead pair, hi-hat, drum pad. So you could use this one for impact if you wanted. An organ could serve as an electric piano. I suppose it might. Let's see. Where's organ? I suppose it could. Yeah, that looks more like a Hammond B3 than an electric piano. They did have an electric piano icon. They must have forgotten to add it in. Oh well. Cool. All right, so that is how you do that. And then this one here, this is going to be the main out. So we'll go other here. Let's see if there is a main out option, which there is not by the look of it. But we'll just put mix. There we go. And that's how you do it. And you can do this on the channels as well, on the tracks as well as the channels. So let's close the console. And let's click on this wrench over here. And we go show track icons. And there you go. And they appear on, I mean, you don't have to add them. Once you've added them to channels, they will show up on tracks and vice versa. So once you've added them to tracks, they will show up on channels. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course the effects one, you're not going to see the effects one up here. But you'll see the drums, you'll see the bass, the keyboards, and the piano. And there's the mix one as well. All right, so that is how you do that. And Tony's just got Studio One 6. Well done, Tony. Congratulations. Welcome. Welcome to Studio One 6. You're going to love it. There is so much that you can now do in Studio One 6, particularly in 6.1 with lyrics on the show page, lyrics on the Studio One remote. And I mean, those on its own are awesome because you can enter your lyrics into your song and you can have them appear on the screen of your iPad. So, you know, if your mic is further back in the room, instead of having to stare across at the main screen, you can have it on your iPad and it'll scroll automatically for you, which is really, really cool. Brett says, is there an icon for the listen bus? Probably not. I don't have the listen bus engaged right now, but I can enable it. There we go. Enable listen bus. Click on this guy. And in other, no, there is no listen bus. There's no listen bus icon. At the moment, we do not have an option for custom icons, but there is a feature request over at answers.presonus.com. Go vote that up. And hopefully they will give us the option to be able to add your own custom icons. That would be pretty awesome, actually, to go down in that general direction. So for this, I think I would maybe choose something different. I might go for rock. There we go. even though I'm not really a rock and roll person, but I would maybe go for that instead. So there we go. That is, as they say, that on the track and channel icons. They are pretty cool, I have to say. And I'm going to turn off the listen bus because I don't have a reason actually at the moment to use it. But one thing I do like to show is my input controls at the top of my channels. I've always preferred that as an option. All right, so that, as they say, is that with that. Let's see. Sorry for the elementary question. Tony, that's what this show is here for. This show is precisely designed. In fact, both my shows, Songwriting Simplified on Wednesdays and Sunday Night Live on Sunday, they are designed for simple questions, as well as really, really complex ones. I'll do complex ones. I don't have a problem with that. You know, I'm perfectly happy to go into concepts surrounding, you know, modes of the major scale, as well as modes of the minor scale, where we can talk about really, really exotic scales like Locrian flat 2, or, you know, Lydian dominant scale, and, you know, building a song out of an exotic scale like the Lydian dominant scale, which, by the way, is a really nice sounding scale. But yes, I can do all of that, but I can also do, where do I find track icons? I have no problem with either. Both are equally valid. Trim pots shouldn't require a plugin. Interesting question. They don't. The input controls here, which is where you can control the gain, by the way, that's what these are for. So if I want to roll off some gain from these, let's say these are a little bit on the hot side, there's no plugin. I don't need to use Mix Tool or anything like that. So let's take a listen to this track. Now you can see we're hitting this round about +6. So if I wanted to, I could roll off a couple of dB there. And that's a wee bit better, actually. I know it wasn't a question, Brett, but there's an agreement on activating the input set. Oh, okay, got you. Sorry, Brett. Maybe I misunderstood. But yeah, there is no requirement for a plugin. You're quite correct. You just turn on showing the input controls, or you turn them off, whichever you prefer. I prefer to have them on. Pretty much, it's the first thing I do when I start up Studio One. Is I would like that to be checked by default, but not everybody wants that. See, so you know they made that optional, but yeah, I would like that to be a default option, that they are on rather than off. But not everybody wants that. Sounds a bit like Chucky's in Love. It kind of does a little bit. It's a minor blues in B flat minor is what it is. That piece of music. It's basically just a simple 3-chord. It's basically a 3-chord minor blues that I did. But I kind of jazzed up the voicings a little bit, so. Alright, so last question of the evening. Oh, great. Nice one, Billy. He says he created a macro to turn off the input controls. There you go. John says, what is the proper procedure to set the input gains? So, you're talking about gain staging. Now, over the years, how I have done gain staging has evolved quite a bit. When I first started out, I took gain staging extremely seriously. I mean, kind of back in the analog days, it was kind of a necessity. It was serious. But when you get into the DAW world and you're entirely 100% in the digital domain, it's less of a big deal because there is really no noise floor anymore to overcome. So gain staging from that perspective is not really necessary. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there who are a big believer in gain staging, and they will just say, you gain stage to this, and it is a rule. I don't really do that anymore. I did at first, like I say, when I was kind of coming over from analog and I was kind of hybrid for a wee bit. I did some analog and then some in the computer, and I kind of blended analog recording and digital recording together to create my music, which is kind of hybrid at the time. And you would never know, by the way, you'd never know which was done in the computer and which wasn't particularly. So that was kind of what I did. And so gain staging was still a thing because you still had a wee bit of a noise floor to overcome on those analog tracks. But now we don't have that because in a DAW there's pretty much no noise floor. The noise floor is so quiet. A pin dropping would be exceptionally loud by comparison. I mean, the noise floor in the digital domain is, minus 144 dB. It's not really anything to worry about. That said, here's my caveat. Here's my point here. Whilst I maybe don't subscribe to classical gain staging, what I do subscribe to is when you bring your tracks in to a song and you're ready to start mixing, the first thing I do is I will set all of the faders to 0 dB. And then what I will do is I will turn down the master fader all the way down, or I will mute the master fader, one or the other. And I will then right click these guys and I'll put them into pre-fader metering mode, which, by the way, looks like this. So now those are all in pre-fader metering mode. So this is the audio coming in before it hits the fader. And then I will turn down these gain inputs or turn them up, whichever is required for the song. All right. So what I tend to do is I tend to find a particular level, a platform. I like to call it a platform where everything is peaking at more or less the same kind of level. So I could pick an arbitrary number, and for a small scale session like this, I would pick something like -6 or -8 dB as my leveling, my platforming point, where the audio is, the pre-fader audio is going to peak at that point. It's going to peak at -8, -6, -8. And then I will just eyeball it. I'm not being really overly precise. I'm just eyeballing it and getting it roughly kind of level at round about -6, -8. And then once that is all done, I'll put the master fader back on. And then I will return this out of pre-fader metering mode. And then hopefully my my audio is kind of peaking at that point that I want to see. And if it's not, then I'll just kind of refine it a wee bit with my faders at still at 0 dB. And I'll refine it a wee bit with my input controls until everything is sorted. And then when it's sorted, I zero out all the faders. I just pull them all the way down, and then I'll start balancing with the faders before I pan anything. And once I've got a really good mix, a really good balance, without panning anything, so everything's essentially in mono, essentially, and I've just mixed entirely by fader levels, then I will start panning things about. And then the next part I do, most people don't necessarily agree with, but it's the way that I have found to get the best stereo width possible. And that is, I put the master fader into mono mode, and then with it in mono mode, so everything is kind of collapsed to mono at that point. Then I start going and getting separation of all the elements of the mix with EQ and compression. And I will using those two tools, I will do the majority of my mix, just with EQ and compression in mono, until I can hear everything. I can hear every element really, really clearly. And once I'm at that point where I can hear everything and it sounds great, I will return the master fader to stereo, and everything will just go boomf out nice and wide. And I'll get not only the separation I was getting before, but I'll get the width that, you know, because even if you've got like conflicting elements, if you pan them away from each other, it doesn't really solve the conflict ultimately. You need to do that with EQ. Whether you've panned them away from each other or not, you still need to resolve the issue with EQ. Panning them away from each other, just basically, you know, you're just saying, you go over there, stop arguing. You go over there, stop arguing. That's all you're doing. They're still arguing. You've just pushed them away from each other so they can't punch each other's lights out. That's all you've done. So I would rather get them to a point where they're not fighting anymore and they actually like each other. And then I'll move them apart. That's kind of my approach to mixing in a nutshell. John says, please make a video on the process you just described. I have made an entire series on the process I've just described. It's a mixing series. I forget what I called it because I made it a while ago. I totally forget what I called it, but it's Mixing with Jonny Lipsham or something like that. I can't quite remember what I called it. But there is a playlist on this channel and you can go check it out. I made it a wee while ago, but it is still all relevant information because most of what I believe about mixing has not really changed that much since then. So there is an existing video series already that you can go and check out. And it's pretty good. I mixed one of my songs from my EP belonging to Tomorrow. The song is called Paper Deity, and you can follow the whole series where I go literally from scratch all the way through to a completed mix. For the second time, because I'd already mixed that song before, obviously for the EP. So this was me basically zeroing. Ow, shit, ow! I smacked the mic. This was me zeroing out the whole thing, and basically doing a brand new mix of it, and yeah, I think it worked pretty well. I think the end result of that series is pretty good. So all of the stuff that I've just talked about on gain staging and all of that is all in that video series and so much more. And the whole thing about mixing in mono is all in there as well. All right, so please do go and check that. And yes, that probably did hurt everybody's ears because I smacked the microphone really hard. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, we are 5 minutes over, and it's time for the after show party. So we're all going to go over there, and if you would like to join us, you are more than welcome to. Mike has already posted the link in the chat. Go and get yourselves over there, and we can talk more for a wee bit while longer before I do head to bed. And it'd be great to see a lot of folk over there. So if you have enjoyed this, please hit the like button. If you have not subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell, select all notifications, because only 20% of my 5,022 subscribers have hit that notification bell. The rest of you haven't. So please do it. If you've been a subscriber for a while and you've gone, oh, I don't think I did it, go do it, please. It would help me a lot. And it'll help you as well, because you will always get notifications that just pop up on your screen, and also email notifications that I've put a video out or there's a new show. All right, so that'll help you, that'll help me, it'll be helpful to everybody all round, because that's what this is all about. All right, folks, I will see you over on the after show Zoom party. See you there, folks. Otherwise, if you're not going to attend that, that's cool. Otherwise, I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. And in fact, before then, Friday night at 8 p.m. UK time is the UK Studio One meetup hosted by yours truly. Once again, we've been doing this for 3 years now, and they are freaking awesome. And sometimes they go on for a very long time. We've done a meetup that's gone on for over 8 hours. So please do come along. You'll have a blast. We have a blast every time, and I love it. So that's Friday, 8 p.m. UK time. If you're in the central time area, count back 6 hours from that, and that will give you your time. If you're in Europe, count forward 1 hour. It'll be 9 p.m. Pretty easy. If you're on Eastern, I think it's 5 hours difference. If you're on the West Coast, it'll be 7 hours difference. And I have no idea, if you're in the mountains, I have no idea what that is. I'm really sorry. I think it's 8 hours that you need to count backwards from 8 p.m., which would be lunchtime for you. So you can join us on your lunch break. And if you're over in Australia, you are like a whole 12 hours in the future. So bear that in mind. Until then, folks, I wish you a very good night, and I'll see you on Friday and on Sunday. Good night. Good night, you crazy awesome people.